So Chair, you are welcome to call the meeting to order when you'd like.
Yeah, okay. It's 6:02. I call this meeting to order, Independent Redistricting Commission meeting to order of February 10th, 2022. Now I'll conduct the roll call. Chair Shruti, I am present. Commissioner Akar,
I am present.
Commissioner Morris, I believe he isn't present. Commissioner McAlern was not going to be present today. Commissioner Jensen,
Here.
Vice Chair Agarwal,
Here.
Commissioner Baldwin,
Here.
Alternate Commissioner Hogg.
Here.
Sounds great.
Here.
Sounds good. Welcome everyone to the Independent Redistricting Commission meeting. Public outreach regarding the redistricting and this commission, as well as the information on all IRC meetings, has been notified to the public in many venues. They include public notice, which was published in Santa Clara Weekly on October 14, 2021, listing all meeting dates. The city's website has a web page dedicated to Independent Redistricting Commission, which outlines the redistricting process, lists of all meeting dates, and also provides information on how to request translation services, which can be done 72 hours in advance of the meeting if needed. The website also has flyers translated into the following languages, in addition to English, which is Chinese, Spanish, and Vietnamese. There is an email address dedicated for inquiries and comments on the redistricting process, redistricting@santaclaraca.gov. This email address will also be monitored during meetings for comments. Flyers have been provided at all public counters at City Hall, as well as distributed at previous citywide events, which was a Halloween party at the Youth Activity Center and the tree lighting ceremony in December. Meeting information has been sent out and will continue to be sent out during the process via e-notify social media, Facebook, Twitter, Nextdoor, and Instagram. Meeting agendas are posted to City's meeting page in advance of the meeting, as well as previous IRC meetings and presentations are available on the City's meeting page, which is www.santaclara.legistar.com. So in this meeting, our goal is to recommend a map, if possible, or we can do it in the next one. And in order to recommend that map, we need majority vote of 4 out of 7 so that the action can be taken. So, and we are planning to do this by taking everyone's 2 preferred maps. And for that, what I've done is that I've created the Google Doc, which we used previously to narrow down the criteria. In that same doc, I have added a table, and in which table will be will be adding the preferred plans and the reasons for choosing those plans. And based on the majority votes and what sequence we decide, we'll try to recommend one map or at least narrow down few maps. Well, with that, we also have supplemental correspondence, which was posted from email from Dan Harrison, email from Commissioner Baldwin and Commissioner McAlern. Today we don't have anything on the consent calendar. Now we move on to the next section of our meeting, which is the public presentations. We'll now move to public presentation section of our meeting. This part of the meeting is reserved.
It does seem like we've temporarily lost Chair Marashi. If our Vice Chair, Alec, if you are able to step in for a second, we can help you with that while we try to get Chair Marashi back into the meeting. I am not sure.
Rena,
Alec,
let's give her a minute to try to join back, and then if not, then Vice Chair Agarwal can continue. But let's give her a minute to try to join back. Yeah.
we'll try and connect with her too to see what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
We also just received an email from Commissioner Morris. He's having technical difficulties, so he's trying to log in as soon as he can.
Since we have members of the public here, I think I should quickly go through some of the ground rules for redistricting at the beginning, but I'll make it quick.
Dr. Gobley, can we do that after public presentations, or would you prefer to do that before public presentations?
Well, what do you mean by public presentations? Comments from the public?
Correct. Yeah, that's what we are waiting for.
Okay, that's fine then. Wait.
Okay, thanks.
Staff is trying to reach out to the commissioners that we lost. So if you can just give us a few minutes.
Yes, sorry about that.
Chair Shruti, we just gave you a few minutes to get back on, so you can pick up where you
Yes,
left off, which was, I just think you were calling for any public presenters presentation.
Okay, yeah, sorry about that. I was just speaking and then I realized that nobody is watching. Okay, yeah. Well, let me get started again on the public presentations. We'll now move to the public presentation section of our meeting. This part of the meeting is reserved for persons to address the council or authorities on any matter not on agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of city or authorities. The law does not permit action on or extended discussion of any item not on agenda except under special circumstances. The governing body or staff may briefly respond to statements made or questions posed, and appropriate body may request staff to report back at the subsequent meeting. As a reminder, comments can be emailed to redistricting@santaclaraca.gov. If any member of the public would like to make comments, please raise your hand in Zoom. Staff, do we have anyone that would like to speak?
We have no hands raised and we do not have any emails.
Okay, thank you, Elizabeth. In that case, we can move on to the general business. We will now move, we have 8 items today. Our first item on agenda is demographers are going to again review the redistricting process and requirements. Demographers, can you provide your presentation? Thank you.
Excuse me. The rules that we follow when doing redistricting are well established. The legal guidelines we follow come from the US Constitution and other federal law and Supreme Court decisions. And state laws include the California Fair Maps Act as amended by AB 1276. These laws are very, very important. So it's very useful to go through these quickly. The most important legal guideline is from the US Constitution, and that's the requirement for population equality. The Federal Voting Rights Act of 1965, as amended and interpreted by the courts, is also exceedingly important. And the Supreme Court decisions prohibiting racial gerrymandering is significant as well. The relatively new California Fair Maps Act and AB 1276 establish, in order of priority, redistricting criteria that cities must follow. Among the requirements are extensive extensive requirements for public outreach, and Chair Mirashi has just told us where the public outreach has been issued. And then there's California Elections Code for Charter Cities, which says that the deadline in the absence of any city charter requirements to the contrary is the same as for general law cities, and that is April 17th. That's the deadline for selecting a new set of council district boundaries. This is the current set of boundaries, and these are the 2020 census counts for each of the council districts. The deviation, that is the difference between the most populous and the least populous council districts, cannot exceed 10% of the ideal population for a council district. So this 14.4% means that the city did need to go through redistricting. During this round of redistricting, it's especially important that we pay attention to communities of interest. And these are variously defined, but essentially amount to geographical areas that are fairly compact, where people have common interests and other characteristics that might especially be connected with what city council members do. So I think that's enough of a review, except to say that there always are trade-offs when redistricting. There really isn't any such thing as a perfect plan. And we try to minimize the amount of trading off we do, but some of it inevitably happens in order to agree upon a plan. That is my quick review of the rules we're following in this process.
Thank you, Dr. Gobale. Do we have any comments from the commissioners? Do you have any questions at this point? Well, if not, do we have any questions from public?
No hands are raised, no comments.
Okay, sounds good. Well, in that case, we can move on to the next part of presentation, where demographers are going to present analysis of new drafts, which have been submitted by noon on Feb 7th.
We now have 10 plans, and the commissioners have received all of the plans, and all of the plans and data for them have been posted on the city's redistricting website. And commissioners, I know you probably have had time to consult, especially the maps, and I apologize for us needing to redo the plan comparisons, because one of you very smart commissioners, Mr. Baldwin, pointed out some inconsistencies in some of the tables, and we got those fixed, and that was reposted yesterday for you. And I guess I would like to ask what the commissioners would like me to do next. Do you want me to go through the plan maps, or is there anything that you would think we should see first? Because the data tables are pretty dense. Plan comparisons probably would be where we might want to start, unless you want to see the overview maps. What is your pleasure?
Yeah. Commissioners, do you have any specific requirements, or do you want to review a specific map of your choice? If not, we can just look at the table comparing all the maps.
Okay.
Well, I think let's go ahead with the comparison table, Dr. Gobale.
I'm having the same trouble I had last time. Can Shelley or Robin please put up the plan comparison table, the single file called plan comparisons?
Yes, Jean, I can share that right now.
Thank you, Robin.
Okay, it should be visible now.
Thank you, Robin.
Welcome, Jean.
This set of tables compares the number of people changing council districts in each plan, the numbers of people who will be voting for a council member in 2 years or in 6 years, in each plan, as well as those who are staying in the same council district and are on the regular election cycle or are being shifted from one council district to another, but still will be voting again this year or in 2 years, depending on what cycle they're in. We have information about protected groups and neighborhoods. Next, please, Robin. Now, this is a really important summary table. The rows are the 10 plans. The first row for Plan 1, for example, is the number of people changing council districts in this plan, and that's just 1% of the city's total population. So this is a minimum change sort of plan. 1,638 people will need to wait 6 years before voting again, and only 27 will be voting sooner than they would have under the current plan. The plan deviation is 7.1%. Now, as you look down this column, you'll see that there is variation in the plan deviations, and some of them are higher than others. But as far as we know, case law from litigation all over the United States says that cities like yours do not need to have really low deviations. This is just true for the US congressional districts and the state legislature and a few others, but not cities. So anything up to 10% is permitted. This is not a major distinction among plans. All these plans are legal to the best of our understanding of what the courts have ruled. So you can see in the pink column, the numbers of people waiting 6 years before voting again. And in the green column, the number voting again in 2 years. You can see some of the numbers are really large, like District 2 is going to shift people so that they vote 13,715 people who would have to wait 6 years since they last voted to vote again. And 12,620 would be voting again in just 2 years sooner than they would have waited under the old council districts. Where there's just a dash or a blank, that means 0 people. You can see quite a bit of variation here. And some of these plans shift more people than others. And this might be part of the criteria. These might be criteria you consider when you are prioritizing plans. The next slides give more details. Maybe we should start to see if there are any questions from the commissioners before we move on.
There is a question from a couple of the commissioners.
Back up, Robin, please. I can't see who's raising.
Yeah, I can share. Commissioner, I think Acker and Commissioner Baldwin have their hands raised.
Yes, I find it a little bit suspicious, and I want to look at Plan 9A and 10. Both have waiting 6 years, 1,106. Oh, as well as Plan 6. It's always just, and Plan 3.
Yes.
So
yes.
That's always suspicious. Did you double check to make
sure
sure that's correct?
Double, triple, quadruple checked. Yes,
No.
yes. And if you look at the detailed tables on the subsequent pages, you can see that they are, because they have the same some of the same configurations in all these plans, something that all these plans have in common.
Okay, then I'm good.
Thank you.
A quick question to Commissioner Acker. I'm curious about what made you suspicious. I would love that data point so that I can look at the data accordingly.
Oh, when numbers are exact, then a flag goes up.
So there are three districts with 1,106 in the pink column.
Okay.
Four districts.
Yeah.
3 plans. And when we see the cross tabulations in the subsequent tables, we can see where those people are.
Well, okay. Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Baldwin, you can ask your question.
Wouldn't plans 1, 4, and 7 all have the same numbers? Because they have same District 1 and District 2 and District 3. And the District 2 and District 3 are the ones that change on the different cycle. So it seems like the population shifts between 1 and 2 are what drive the numbers for those plans. Like the 1638, and then you get doing 6 years, but then you go to plan 7 and you have 1638 voting in 2 years. I would have guessed, and I may be looking at this wrong, but I would have guessed that would have been 1638 as well.
Well, we'll have to look at the detailed tables because they're the ones from which this table was
Okay.
derived. So I hope you have a copy of this to look at while we go through the detailed tables.
Okay.
So Robin, are there any other questions? All right, this table is a bit small, but a plan that we have for Plan 1. In Plan 1, we have District 2 electing have 1,638 people waiting 6 years for the next election and 27 people waiting 2 years for the next election. We have all the gray shaded cells on each of these tables are people who don't change districts. The only others off the main diagonal are for Council District 5 with 802 people on the same election cycle, but they're changing council districts from Council District 5 to 4. And then on the last row, Council District, sorry, the row before that, to District 4, 1,109 people are waiting, are on the same election cycle as they are now. The Plan 2 numbers, similarly, you can see more people off of the main diagonal in this plan. And one of your very involved members of the public created this plan to illustrate the fact that it's possible to draw council districts that increase the share of the council district's population that are Latinx. And she wanted to be sure that we knew it was possible to create such a district. Now, Plan 3, we have 1,106 people showing in pink. And then we have another 665 people moving from Council District 4 to 5. And those are the only changes in election cycle. Then the next Plan 4 table, we just have 1,638 people changing election districts, and 1,638 who are going to have to wait 6 years before voting again, and nobody is going to have to wait. Nobody has the opportunity to vote after only 2 years. Now, you'll notice the 1638 number shows up for District 2 in both Plans 3 and 4. And the total row at the bottom of each of these tables shows that there are different numbers of people in these council districts in the particular plan. So the fact that those numbers aren't identical show, for example, that the populations in the new plans, District 1, are not quite the same. And the totals are also similarly different. Yes, thank you, Robin. We're looking at the columns now. The districts I'm sorry, I can't really see this because there's a menu in my way. Yeah, thank you, Robin. That's very helpful. Okay. So there are a total of 20,787 people in this plan. Oh, we're on the second page now. Can you back up a page? Or are we? I think we were, here we go. I'm sorry. Well, it's important to look at the column totals and the row totals when you're double checking numbers. Now, Commissioner Baldwin, were there any questions about any of these plans and the numbers that you might think aren't quite right?
Maybe I just don't understand how it works as well, but it seems like for Plan 1, it says 27 waiting or voting again in 2 years. And if the same people switch from, the only switching is for districts where there's a change in the voting is 1 and 2, right? Because 3 is the same.
No, if you look down at districts 5 and 6, you can see, 4 and 6, you can see 1,109 people off the main diagonal and another 802 people off the main diagonal.
But aren't 4, 5, and 6, they're in the same voting cycle, right? So switching amongst them shouldn't change the frequency of the voting because they all vote in presidential years, right? 4, 5, and 6. So any switching back and forth in there shouldn't cause any change in the who votes late and who votes early.
Okay, so in Plan 1 over on the right, there's a pink cell and a green cell. 1,638 people would vote, wait 6 years to vote, and 27 people would vote again in 2 years. So those are numbers that are transferred onto the summary table, which is in the previous slide. You don't need to show it though, Robin.
Yeah.
But Jean, could I come in here?
Sure.
So I think what happened is that normally we were using pieces, and there must have been some part of District 2, original District 2, that got transferred to District 5 in this plan. I don't know. It's such a small number. I have a feeling it just might be a block that got moved that has caused the problem.
But I'm not sure that's the problem, Shelley.
Well, it may not be, it may have been intentional. There's
right.
There's 27 people that moved from District 2 to District 5 in this Plan 1. And it looks like it's a block. So it just may have been.
Well, that's not,
it's a minor point. I'd like to make one other point. These numbers are from the pink numbers. 1638 is common in 1106. And 1638 happens when pieces 12 and 13 move from District 2 to District 1.
Mm-hmm.
And the 1106 happens when piece 11B moves from District 2 to District 1. And so we know that 1 has to increase in number. We have to increase District 1 somehow, and it's going to come from District 2. So that's where these.
Yeah. And District 1 to District 2 changes are the ones that affect when people vote because they're different election cycles. But Plan 7 should have also the 1638 as in the salmon or pink or whatever you want to call it, because it's got the same configuration for Districts 1 and District 2.
That's true. Yeah.
Well, Robin, go to the next page so we can see Plan 7, please.
Yeah, that would.
Okay, it's at the bottom. There. Yes.
So instead of it being green, it should be orange.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Oh dear.
So the only question I have then is the 27. It sounds like that was just a minor glitch that some section didn't get transferred.
Yeah, okay. I think so.
Because they should, if I'm thinking about it correctly, which is a big if, 1, 4, and 7 should have the same numbers, and 3, 6 and 10 should have the same numbers.
We will fix this table,
Okay.
but these are the tables that are the basis for that summary table we saw first. And fixing Plan 7 should get rid of the anomalies.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yes. All right, Robin, can you continue? Next page, the details for plans one page back. Plans 8B, 9A, and 10. These are new plans since, or at least 9A and 10 are new since we last met. Next, please, Robin. All right. This table compares a few other things that are slightly different. And each of the 10 plans is a row. And the first column after the plan number is the Latinx share in the highest ranked district. That is the single council district that has the highest Latinx share is in this column. So Plan 1's district with the largest number share, population share being Latinx is 28.6%. And if you go down the column, you will see that that is the highest concentration of Latinx in any of the plans. And Shelley, you want to explain about 19 and 20?
Sure. It seemed to me that 19 and 20 were where the Latinx concentrated population was. And in most cases, pieces 19 and 20 were kept together. The only case where they weren't was in Plan 5. I think that was keeping the quad together. And so that ended up splitting pieces 19 and 20. So it just, one could consider, and this is more for you all, you know the local area better than I do. But just whether that is in fact where could be considered a Latinx community of interest. But in most cases, they were kept together anyway. And actually you can see in District 5, Plan 5, that Latinx percent goes down a bit as well. I mean, these are not big numbers, and it's, I mean, these differences aren't great between 24 and 29%, 28.6. But anyway.
I wouldn't say the Asian shares differ a whole lot either.
Right. So, you know, I wasn't even sure we should show these Asian percentages, but for consistency, we did. I think what's interesting is the number of neighborhoods split, the later characteristics on this table, the measure of compactness. And these numbers aren't a big spread, but they do indicate when things are not as compact, but you just have to look at that. Like Plan 2 was very odd shaped in some ways, and that's has a value of 0.34, whereas some of most of the others are in the 40% tiles. So the spread is not big, but it does indicate the higher the number shows it's more compact, I should say. So that's how to read that. It's just that the spread does not look that great.
And the last column is wrong. We have to fix.
Yeah, so the last
that.
column, I think it's 1106 should be in both 7 and 10 on that, because I think those are both 11B. And so that's just mentally put 1106 in there for Plan 7 and 10.
I should have had you proofread this, Shelley. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Okay.
And then there's one more page. I was the one that put together the split neighborhoods, and I found that a lot of the neighborhoods were all, let's see, a few of the neighborhoods were split by all the plans. So Robin, if you would go down to the next page. So all the plans split Lawrence and El Camino because El Camino is used as the boundary line. All of them split Bowers Monroe, Fremont Park vicinity, Oakmead, and all but one Hampton Place, and all but one Santa Clara Old Quad. So then what you're left with, like the current plan splits none of the other neighborhoods. Plan 1 splits 2. Plan 7 splits 7 other neighborhoods. Plan 3, 2. Plan 4, 0. You can see Plan 10 also splits only 1 neighborhood, the Montague neighborhood, because that's 11B. So that might be of interest to you. How many
Yes,
neighborhoods are split?
these are all quantifiable ways to bases for comparing plans, and some of them might not matter much to you and some might matter more. And in some cases, the variation isn't significant enough really to, I think, choose between plans, but we hoped to, we're trying to provide numbers that would help you compare plans, and there's a lot more to it than just the numbers.
Okay, we have some questions.
Okay, yeah, so I just wanted to confirm the neighborhoods split here. You are defining the neighborhoods from next door perspective, right?
Yes, from next door.
And we supplied a set of neighborhood maps, one
Correct,
per
yeah.
plan, or well, 2 per plan.
Yeah, I wanted to confirm that. Thank you.
Did Commissioner Morris have a question? You're muted.
I did, but I think you answered that question, so I lowered my hand.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, any other comments? I see Commissioner Jensen has a question.
Just not a question, just I really appreciated that you added the previous 2 slides. It was super helpful for me, both the table and then looking at the neighborhood split. So I just wanted to comment on, thank you for adding those in.
Thank you. We were trying to figure out what objective criterion or facts we could give you to help you choose between these 10 plans.
Yeah, thank you. Definitely appreciate that. Do we have any comments from the public?
No, we do not.
Okay, if not, before we move on to the next agenda item where we are going to discuss the criteria we all agreed on last time, I'd like to request the demographers to review the concept of communities of interest and neighborhoods once again, because I realized that we have covered most of the other criteria except that one, so that everyone is on the same page about what those are. Thank you.
I'm
If
sorry.
someone is, okay.
This is a long-standing concept, but it has been given a lot of importance for cities and counties in California since the passage of AB 1276. And these are examples of communities of interest. Now, people may have a different idea of the neighborhood they live in than their neighbors do, but you do have the next door neighborhoods to use, if you wish, as communities of interest. You may or may not agree with what next door neighborhoods did, but at least one person has said that they thought they were pretty accurate from that individual's point of view. The areas that have socioeconomic characteristics that are distinctive and different from surrounding areas might be considered communities of interest, especially insofar as the need for city services is concerned. Race, ethnic groups, protected group members under the Federal Voting Rights Act can be considered communities of interest to the extent that they share common needs and preferences and interests. Areas with common needs and priorities, like areas that need more public transportation or need more attention from any other kind of city service. So the idea of community of interest is a little bit abstract, and it's a little bit fluid because your idea of your own neighborhood's boundaries might differ from your neighbors, as I said before. Your ideas of people who are like you, who live near you, may not match quite what other people in that area believe. So this is a bit subjective, but this is as far as we know that at the heart of the idea of communities of interest. Is there a more specific question about this?
That was a great review. Do we have any questions from the commissioners? Okay. Yeah, thank you for that. With this review, I just want to reiterate is that this concept is abstract and can be subjective. And with that, we can move on to our third agenda item, where we are going to review the criteria we agreed upon and talk about how we are going to proceed in finalizing or narrowing down the plans we all are interested in. Okay, let me share my screen quickly. So I'll be reviewing the doc that I prepared last time. So we decided on 4 criteria. First was to keep percent deviation below 10% as discussed, and keep a map contiguous and compact. And we do have the compactness data in the tables which demographers shared. Second was to keep communities of interest and concerns intact. We just discussed this part. So these 2 are supposed to be must-haves for us. And I believe each one of us will have different ideas about how they are trying to keep the communities or neighborhood together. Other nice to haves were minimize the number of people who will have to wait 6 years to vote. And fourth was to minimize the percent deviation by the next census. So basically, in the fourth part, what we are trying to do is that we are probably looking at the future plans that the city has. This is not a concrete data that has been reminded to us by the staff, but we were planning to just take a look at it and not come up with a deviation which is like 8% or 9%, for example, so that there is a fair chance that it will be over 10% in the next census. So these are the 4 must-haves that we worked on. And we have a brief summary of these characteristics. What I'm proposing is that all of us, I created a table so that we all and the public can visualize at the same time what our preferences are with reasons, so that everyone can see and we can together brainstorm which plans do we want to go ahead with or think about and just critique. So I believe many of you might have sent email to Elizabeth about your preferences and the reasons.
Actually, Chair, this is Elizabeth. We did set it up so they were just going to discuss it at tonight's meeting. I did receive one response from Commissioner Morris, but the rest,
okay,
you could just discuss it at the meeting.
In that case, feel free to, this is an open discussion. Now that we don't have all the emails received, I propose that we send this link to this doc to all the commissioners. And as we discuss, we can also add the data in this doc. Because I'm of opinion, if a person just speaks about a particular plan, everything is not grasped, and you can miss out certain points and not remember if a certain commissioner prefers a certain plan. So would you like to add your preferences as you discuss? Yeah, Liz?
Oh, yeah, sorry, Shruti. The only thing I don't want them completing this outside of the meeting. So that's why we were hoping to end during the meeting. Just we want to avoid any Brown Act discussion happening outside.
Sounds good. But yeah, And now that we are doing it online, can we share the link to this doc? With
Yeah, that this is fine so long as, after we're done, that this document's made public for the, for the
okay. Okay, we can do that. Elizabeth?
Yeah, give me just a minute. It'll take just a minute for me to do that, okay? Thank
Sounds
you.
good. Vice Chair Agarwal?
Yeah, so I was, to me, a discussion is something where kind of you can, I was wondering the need to document each and every point to let the level of detail something, because this is something which I thought like we discuss rather than trying to capture. I'm sure everybody has their reasons what they have for, but is it that what we want to first document and then say these are why I'm saying them, or kind of it's an open discussion and then we come up and talk about it?
Right. So it is not required that we have detailed documentation, but the only reason to document, we are going to have discussion, main priority on the discussion, but at the same time, just having those points in a doc is useful, especially if we do not end up finalizing the plan in this meeting. In that case, the commissioners won't have to see the recording again and find the specific discussion and just look at the consolidated data. Does that make sense?
My perspective is actually viewing the recording in that case is more useful because there are many nuances. There are some other additional information that people communicate while discussing as compared to what you write down. So in case you need to go back, my thought would be viewing a recording would probably be more helpful.
Well,
just giving my opinion. Yeah.
I like both the options. So there is a case where I might look at the points and still go back and look at the recording. I would love input from other commissioners because we want to go with something which everyone agrees with.
And this is Elizabeth. I did want everyone to know I did just send the email with the link. So you should receive it shortly.
Yeah, Commissioner Baldwin?
I think that's equally important as to why we're choosing a map. I think it's also important to talk about why we're not choosing a map and what we find problematic about certain maps. And to that extent, I think this table would get a little busy if we went through and talked about why we didn't like each other maps. We can put down the two we want. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
But I think as part of that discussion, we need to talk about why we don't like certain maps. And then that goes back to what was previously said. It becomes better to use the recording at that point as the documentation.
I agree. Also writing the not reasons can make this cluttered. I definitely agree with that. Commissioner Jensen?
I was just going to agree. Like, I'm really happy to go in and put my two maps into this spreadsheet, but I would like, maybe if we can go like top to bottom and just have people verbally share their rationale and how they did it. So, but like I said, I'm happy to go in and put in my two maps.
Sounds good. We can for now, we can just add the just the map numbers so that we can just decide if a particular map has a majority, we can start the discussion from that map. Is that all right? We don't have to write reasons immediately. Well, in that case, I can quickly fill in. Commissioner Aker, what are your preferred maps?
My preferred map would be number 10.
Mm-hmm.
And the reasoning is kind of the least number of changes.
We can just do the numbers now,
so
that we know which map are we going to talk about first.
Okay.
So you can just tell map number 10 or map number X, which is the second map.
7 would be my second choice.
Okay, fantastic. Commissioner Morris?
4 and 3.
4 and 3. Commissioner Jensen?
1 and 4.
4. Commissioner Agarwal?
3 and 4.
3 and 4. Okay, Commissioner Baldwin?
4 and 3. But then after 4, if you could put in parentheses 1, because 4 and 1 are very similar. It's just a slight edge to them, but underneath my second one, that's a different one, is B3. You know what
Okay.
Maybe I'm making it too
Okay,
complicated. Sorry.
let's write it down. For now, we'll consider 4, and next is 3. Okay,
Right.
surely.
That's it.
And we'll also take alternate commissioners' thoughts. Are we required to do that?
Actually, we're not supposed to,
Okay, okay. Sounds
unfortunately.
good. Okay, just by looking at this, we know that 3 and 4 are a tie. So we are definitely discussing 3 and 4. Okay. Let's go with 3 then. Should we start discussing 3? I'll stop sharing, and whoever has 3, they can start stating their reasons. Does that sound good to everyone? Because it was the most popular map, 3 and 4.
Yes, okay, I will start.
Okay.
So to me, 3 was first, it is slightly.
Commissioner Agarwal, sorry to interrupt. Can someone from staff share the map number 3 so
Thank
that
you.
public can view what is being talked about?
Shelley, I don't know if that's something. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, go ahead, Vice Chair.
Yes, so some reasons for 3. First is it's smaller, so that we expect a lot of growth in district. Sorry, let me start again. District 1 is small. It is so that it has more potential to accommodate a growth, which, and from the, I think, projections, District 1 will have the most significant growth coming in. And another reason was the entire District 1 is north of the tracks, like some other maps. So the railway tracks, and to me, that kind of defines kind of communities in some sense. The way city was developed, north and south of the tracks was kind of different. So number 1 preserves that as compared to some other maps. So that's few of the reasons why 3 was my top choice. And just to add, final point is the Latino, the Latinx, it did not split that part, it kept it together. So yeah, these are the reasons.
Thank you, Commissioner Agarwal. Commissioner Baldwin, would you like to talk about map 3, plan 3, why you chose that?
Do you want to talk about map 3? 4 was my first preference, but
yeah, we are going to discuss 3 and 4 anyway. 3. So let's talk about 3 first, so that everyone has in their mind all the things about 3. Is that all right?
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I agree with what was said previously. One difference, though, and the reason I chose 4 over 3 was because I ended up looking at that split. If you go up to the northern, the split up in District 1 and District 2, the previous page. Yeah, right there. The split there on De La Cruz Boulevard for right here, along the yes, right along there. That splits the neighborhood more than the populations on both sides of De La Cruz. De La Cruz is a big street. It's big like Bowers, but it's a residential area like Bowers. So it's no worse than splitting it with Bowers, and better than Newhall, which is even a smaller one and more compact or more narrower street. But if you use the alternative in 4, you use Santa Tomas Expressway to split the district. And with Santa Tomas Expressway, you get 2 very different populations on the east and the west side of it. The piece 13 in Plan 4, which shows what Oakmead is, that is 12. That piece 13, yeah, we don't show the pieces here, but it's like 12% Hispanic And then if you go to the right and piece 14 and 15, it's 82% Hispanic. So there's a big difference. And also the population in 13 is all concentrated, or most of it's concentrated in those new apartments that have been built since 2018. And it's concentrated there, while in 14 and 15, it's very small pockets that are spread out all over the pieces. If you go to the piece, the pie with the ethnic charts in it it's not necessarily here, but anyway, yeah, if you see 13 here, the concentration is all towards the Bayshore up to near 1 and 1 in that one apartment in Santa Square. So if you look at it, it's a very distinct population. While in 11A and 11B, there's a similar population. It's primarily Asian, followed by white, and then Hispanic, looking at the CBAP numbers. And also they share a same neighborhood, park, and the same elementary school, and it's right on De La Cruz. So they have the socialization, I think, between 11A and 11B is far, far greater than between 13 and 14, 15. So that was my argument for it better preserve the neighborhoods, even though I agree. Historically, north of 101 was considered a very different area than south, and north of the railroad tracks to 101 was all industrial, and it's changing though. Yeah, that's pretty much it, why I preferred 4 over 3, but they both changed the number of people shifting districts very small. Like I think 3 is 1%, and the other is 2%. So that's another plus, even though it's not a must-have.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Baldwin. You basically covered both plans 3 and 4, and thank you for that. I think Commissioner McAllen had chosen plan 3, but I believe he is not present today. And we don't have the detailed reason as to why exactly plan 3. We can move on to discussing plan 4. Before that, any comments or questions from commissioners? Yeah, Commissioner Jensen.
Can I just comment on why I didn't choose 3?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, to be honest with you, Commissioner Baldwin said it better than I could have done it, but I couldn't justify splitting the Montague neighborhood, which happens when you move 11B into District 1. And I couldn't justify splitting that neighborhood up in order to make the numbers work. And so that's why I didn't choose map 3.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your thoughts. Well, Commissioner Jensen, do you want to talk about plan 4? Because anyway, we are going to move on to discussing plan 4.
Commissioner Morris's hand is up as well. Maybe he has something on 3.
Oh, sorry about that. Commissioner Morris?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks. So I actually have, kind of echo the same sentiments as Commissioner Baldwin, because I had chosen 4 over 3. The common reasons about 3 and 4 are that there are minimal changes, minimal disruptions, and minimum number of people moving over. So it's in the case of 4, it's 2%, and in the case of 1 and 3 is 1%. But exactly the same reasons that Commissioner Baldwin had mentioned. Plan 3 bisects the Montague neighborhood, whereas the Plan 4 doesn't, and Plan 4 has minimal disruption. So we can't actually, in this case, I'm totally with Commissioner Baldwin, because I also did the same selection as 4 and 3, and we can't speak of one without the other because of these same reasons. So that was my comment, actually. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for your thoughts, Commissioner Morris. Yeah, that totally makes sense. Commissioner Jensen, do you want to talk about plan 4, your reasons for choosing plan 4? I believe Commissioner Baldwin and Commissioner Morris already covered their preference for plans 3 and 4. So
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'll echo kind of the same comments that Commissioner Baldwin and then Commissioner Morris has voiced over in the minimum change, population, and the deviation. The only other thing that I would add that I really liked about Plan 4 is that it actually maximized our communities of color. I would say Plan 1 was the other one that did that. Plan 4 was very close, which is why I included it, which was it maximized the Latinx population, it maximized the Asian population, it split the one of the fewer numbers of neighborhoods. And so for all those reasons, plus the ones I just added in, that's why I really liked this map, Plan 4.
Fantastic. Thank you, Commissioner Jensen. Commissioner Agarwal, do you want to share your reasons for choosing Plan 4? Commissioner Agarwal or Vice Chair Agarwal? I see your hand raised.
Okay. No, probably. Okay, I think the reasons have been similarly echoed, and after listening to for me, I had chosen 3 and then 4. After listening to reason, I think the reasons are similar, and I think probably I will want to change my vote from 4 as my number 1 plan and 3 as the number 2 plan. Okay. I do see the logic of reasoning of not splitting the Montague community. So I think reasons are kind of similar to what people have echoed, and I wanted to change, make 4 as my number 1 choice and 3 as number 2.
Okay, well, I've done that. Fantastic, great points, everyone. Well, others who did not choose plans 3 or 4, do you have any problems that you see with plans 3 and 4? We can discuss those. And I also welcome public to make any comments if they have. Commissioner Jensen?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to contradict myself in saying this, but I just wanted to kind of state one rationale based off of the communities of interest. So we've gotten some public comment, which I really value, on the community of interest that we talked about last meeting on the bike path community that kind of runs through, the 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16, I think is the last one there. That as a potential community of interest. And the way I thought about it was honestly pretty similar to the El Camino community of interest, in that it's such a long geographic community of interest that it actually, by kind of definition, has to span several council districts. And so I felt the same way about that bike path community of interest, just being so geographically large that I felt like it was okay to spread between two council districts that shared that interest, just based off of how geographically large it was. So that, and kind of the prioritization of communities of color over that community of interest.
Thank you for your thoughts, Commissioner Jensen. Commissioner Baldwin?
And piggybacking on that, there is a change between when the data for that bike path community of concern was generated, because that was before 2018. And 2018 was when they put in that big complex in Santa Clara Square of apartments. So it may have been at one time there was more similarities in the populations between piece 13 and 14 and 15. But if it was then, it isn't now. So because it's different populations between, there's 3 times as many people in 13 as in 14 and 15 combined.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Commissioner Baldwin. I see a member of public raising the hand. Can we give them access to ask the question?
Yes. Diane Harrison, you've been unmuted. You can go ahead and speak.
Yes, hi. Yeah, I just want a point of clarification. The community of concern has nothing whatsoever to do with a bike path. We don't have an east-west bike path. We're looking at something with VTA that will go east-west, but that hasn't even been built, and that's still far in the future. So I'm not sure how that came across, but it's not a bike path. We do have a bike path that goes north-south, but we do not have one that goes east-west. And also, even though there's a large area, the community of concern, it's actually a very sparse population. All of those districts from 12 through 16 and 20 actually is a very small number of people altogether. So that's just not what I wanted to say about that.
Okay, yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Well, Commissioner Iker, I see that you had different preferences other than 3 or 4. Do you want to comment, or do you have any potential problems with plan?
No, I think that 3 and 4 look good. I think I have a small preference for 4, but they all look good. My concern is always is making the weird shape district. So I like to see the districts to be as compact as possible. And I think I see a little bit of that in number 4, because we're not splitting number 11 there. Piece 11's not split, and I think that's kind of nice. But they're both satisfactory to me.
Okay, thank you for your input, Commissioner Iker. Yeah, and glad you brought up the compactness point, but looking at the graph, that the summary of characteristics that we had, the higher the number, the better was the compactness. That is what demographers mentioned. And most of the plans that we are discussing are in range 0.44 or 0.43. That is what we are looking at. So there isn't much different, even though it looks weirdly shaped in terms of compactness. However they measure it, it seems compact. And I really like Commissioner Jensen bringing up the point where he discussed the community of concern, which was discussed, brought up by our member of public, Dan Harrison. Looks like we don't really have a lot of data points regarding what was the basis of establishing that community of concern. Do interrupt me if I'm getting that wrong there. So based on whatever data we have, we are not giving it too much preference, right, commissioners?
Chair Shruti Marashi, I just wanted to share, because we discussed this at the last meeting, that the communities of concern are specifically a framework that is put out by the Regional Planning Organization, Metropolitan Transportation Commission, and ABAG. Those are regional planning and transportation organizations. And they've identified communities of concern. The one community of concern in Santa Clara is the area that we talked about. And that is supposed to be really an area with significant concentrations of historically underserved populations, primarily people of color and people with low incomes. That was a term that they've updated. The data that they are using was the American Community Survey, is not actually our 2020 census data that folks are looking at right now. However, so I can't speak to whether it would still be an area of concern or not. There is some development, newer construction that's happened in this area. However, it is an area that doesn't have as established of as you can look at the lotting pattern, right? There's a lot of single family lots, lotting pattern, in the south of the city. So if you look at sort of the central swath, it's more of an industrial character where you might see some, residential that isn't as much of a in single family character nature. So there's still a strong likelihood that there are lower income populations there, although we don't have like the actual data on this particular area right now. I just wanted to provide some context of, that ABAG called this out based on their metrics of how to decipher sort of disenfranchised lower income populations. And that although the numbers that they're looking at are not 2020 census, there is some reason to believe that could be modified a little because of newer construction. There's also just the nature of the area that probably hasn't changed as significantly as, it's still possibly if they ran 2020 numbers today, it still could meet their criteria is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that context, Trina. That was helpful. I believe we have covered all the points that were discussed and addressed those things that were brought up. And looks like based on the discussion that we had, we basically have a clear winner in 4, but of course we are going to take a vote. And again, I invite all the comments from everyone to discuss if they have any problems with 4 or do we want to modify anything in 4, because it looks like it is the most popular plan. And even I agree with that. And is there anything that commissioners want to present, another plan or another perspective? Do let us know. Everyone is welcome to present their specific ideas. I'll give it few seconds to see if anyone wants to present anything. Okay, I think most of us agree on plan 4, which is great. Okay, let me look at what should be the next course of action. Does anyone have any recommendations on any changes? Well, a quick question for city staff and Liz Claude.
Yeah, I was just going to make a comment that at some point, if this is the map that you want to move forward, someone will need to motion to move forward with this map for adoption at the next commission meeting. So just wanted to put that out there for when you guys are ready to take some action.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, a quick question for anyone. Do you want to adopt plan 4 as is, or does anyone have any recommendations where we can do live mapping and do some changes and play around with map, only with this map, and then finalize and take the motion in the next meeting? How would you like to go ahead? I would really appreciate comments from all the commissioners.
Okay, I'd suggest that first we raise our hands and vote on 4, and then after that, raise our hands and vote on 3.
Okay. Sounds good. Let's do that. Let me address. Reena has some comment.
Yeah, no, I just, and I wouldn't be saying this if you all had a lot of deviation from, you're narrowing down on a map and making some fine tweaks. To keep us really on schedule, we had scheduled and looked at everyone's calendars, and we had scheduled the February 28th meeting on the books. If we go beyond February 28th, there is a lot, I wouldn't say the word isn't work, there's a little bit more uncertainty of trying to nail down everyone's time to establish a quorum to then actually have you take action. So what I am recommending that if you get close, to really try tonight to get to being able to take a motion to recommend a map at the next meeting, so that we can do the appropriate notifications and we can stay as closely on schedule as we've been hoping for.
Okay, okay.
Yes, that was my thought also, but since we had two, I wanted to take a vote on those two, and then whichever one wins, we could move forward and recommend that one.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Morris?
Yeah, no, my hand was raised because 3 came into the discussion again, and I've just to complete that discussion. Actually, I don't know whether many of you agree or not, but actually, map 10 is very much similar to map 3. It's just that the deviation is just a percentage more. And but all other factors in terms of what map 3 does happen in map 10 as well. So I'm not sure if there is a disagreement on that or an agreement on that, but I just wanted to raise that point that map 3 and 10 are almost similar, and it does, both of the maps do bisect Montague neighborhood. And it does bisect the Bowers Monroe neighborhood as well as the North Quad. So it's the same in terms of all of the characteristics are the same.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for your thoughts, Commissioner Morris. I believe, as Commissioner Aker suggested, we'll take a vote on map 3 and 4. If by some chance 3 has majority vote, in that case, we'll also look at plan 10 because they are almost similar, as you mentioned. And if 4 wins, then 4 will be a clear-cut winner and we won't have to discuss plan 10. Does that sound all right with you?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good. Clerk Hossam?
Yeah, so just on the suggestion from Commissioner Aker, on the way we do motions and votes in Robert's Rules of Order, trying to vote on 2 things, right, is kind of problematic. So, usually a motion is made not for do you want option A or option B, it's do you want A, and then it either passes, with 4 votes or not, at least 4 votes, or and then if that fails, then you would go to option B, which is not really going to help with what Commissioner Aker is trying to do here. So what I would suggest is what we typically call in these kinds of situations a straw poll. So it's not official. It's basically just getting a pulse on where everybody stands. And then basically from the straw poll, you can get an idea of what to make the motion. So like if you take a straw poll and you like an option A, you see that option A has more votes than option B. At that point, then somebody can make an official motion to adopt the option that had more interest from the straw poll standpoint. But like in terms of making official motions, you can't really have like a 2-way motion. It's either a yes or a no type of a vote. So it's just from a process standpoint, not necessarily on the merits of one option over the other.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. That's why I didn't make it as a formal motion.
Perfect.
More
Perfect.
a
Yeah. So you just call it as a straw poll. Yep.
Yes. Exactly.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So I don't know if this counts. Can I share my screen? Looks like my ability to share screen is disabled, or maybe someone is sharing the screen. We can also take the poll again and choose, because as people were discussing and changing their preferences, I kept on updating whatever we filled in. And for me, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There were 5 votes for 4, and 1, 2, 3, 3 people, 3 people have votes for 3. So that is why I was going to ask for a motion suggesting 4. But
if you wanted to do the straw poll, Chair Marashi, just you could call for like a roll call,
okay,
and then just go one by one and take the straw poll per map, and then at that point you can decide what to do.
Okay, let's do that poll. Okay, Commissioner Aker,
4.
Commissioner Morris,
4.
Commissioner McAlern is not here. Commissioner Jensen,
4.
Commissioner Agarwal,
4.
Commissioner Baldwin,
4.
Okay, even I'm voting for 4. So looks like we have a clear-cut winner here, 4. Now a quick question to city staff before we pass the motion. So we are passing the motion to adopt this plan in the next meeting, right?
Yes, and so I'll make a motion that the committee adopt map number 4 at the next meeting.
Do I have a second?
Sorry, if you don't mind. Assistant City Attorney Liz Klotz. What's the right wording to use here, just so that we're
Yeah.
Yeah.
As soon as I started, I says, I bet there's a legality here.
I think we all generally understood what you were trying to do. So, yeah.
Could the attorney please make the motion or suggest a motion?
Yeah. The motion is for staff to bring back map number 4 for adoption at the next commission meeting on February 28th.
So
there might be some element of noticing to the public.
That's correct, but we'll follow that process. Staff will notice the process.
Okay, so moved.
Okay, do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, well, that was nice and clean.
You would want to do the roll call vote right
now. Now we vote.
Yeah.
Yeah, now let's vote. Commissioner Iker?
Aye.
Commissioner Morris?
Yes.
Commissioner Jensen?
Yes.
Vice Chair Agarwal?
Yes.
Commissioner Baldwin?
Yes.
Yeah, aye from me. We have the vote. Now let me look at next agenda item. Okay, okay, are we, do you want to do live mapping and answer any questions, if any? I believe it is all finalized, so no need of live mapping, and we have already adopted it. Okay, Reena, would you like to present the schedule for map adoption for us?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Baldwin has his hand up.
Okay, hi, Commissioner Baldwin.
I don't know if it's appropriate now, but there is a tweak to that map 4 that I think would improve it a little bit. I submitted it to the demographers, and they said it was doable. But I don't know if now's the right time, or do we do that next meeting?
Okay.
I would think now, but we should talk to city staff City staff should answer that question.
Well, the thing is, you guys passed a motion, so at this point, it's not too late. You can always reconsider the motion. I would suggest that you just discuss the suggestion that you want to make right now, and if the collective feels like it's worth taking that into consideration, then you would, or making the change, then you would. So the formality here, you're going to pass a motion to reconsider the last motion, and then pass, if everybody wants to reconsider it, then you would reconsider it and then vote on a new one. So kind of out of order. You should have brought it up before, but it's not too late. You can still bring it up. And then if the collective feels like they want to reconsider the motion, then you would want to do that. But definitely do it probably this meeting, not next meeting.
And just to add on to that, the intent is staff will actually share with the public the map that's intended to be adopted. So we want to make sure we're capturing that visual before we notice the public that way.
Okay, and a quick question. Once we give notice to the public that this is the plan that is being adopted, if we get certain comments from the public regarding the potential changes or more suggestions, so what happens? Do we have to adopt the map in the next meeting, or can we still do some changes and then adopt it in the next meeting?
You could still do changes, but then keep in mind that whatever you land on as the final map needs to be noticed. So that means that if you do changes in the next meeting, which we're not trying to encourage you in any way, shape, or form on what changes to make or not. That's entirely up to you all as an independent commission. But we're just saying, like, if you change if you make changes in the next meeting, then we would need to schedule another follow-up meeting to give enough notice for the public on what the final map is,
Okay.
right? And then if in that next meeting you want to make another change, you're welcome to do so. But I mean, just keep in mind that you're running against the clock, and at some point you will have to just make the decision with the proper noticing requirements. So, of course, staff is saying, you know, there are some scheduling and logistics that we have to work through.
Mhm.
You all are independent. You will make the decision that you feel is right for the city, but just know that there are some legal requirements and logistics that are involved with that.
Okay, yeah,
So
thanks for
just
that
to make an
clarity.
informed decision. Yep.
Now, can we hear Commissioner Baldwin's suggestion to the demographers, or do we have to pass motion to we don't have to pass any motion, right? We can just hear that suggestion.
Yeah, let's just hear the suggestions first, and then you all can decide if you want to reconsider or not. Yeah.
Commissioner Baldwin, do you want to share those suggestions?
Yes, sorry about doing it out of order. If you can bring up the map and we could talk about it, I think it'd make it very clear. It's fairly simple change, but I think it'll make a slight improvement. But if you could,
Robin's going to share her screen now on map 4.
if we,
Can you see map 4?
Yes.
yeah,
Great.
if you look at the boundary between piece 26 and I think the numbers and the one to the left of it, whatever, if you move that border for 26 to, yeah, great, that's better. If you move that border from 26 right there and move it to Saratoga Creek, it'll make it ever so slightly more compact, and I think it'll slightly reduce the number of people that are shifting districts. If you make it the hypotenuse rather than the two right sides. Yes, right along there.
Yes, okay, I'll go ahead and make that change. So we're going to move 2 blocks from District 5, and we're going to move them into District 4 along the creek, along Saratoga Creek.
Yeah, that way the border stays Saratoga Creek going north to the El Camino too.
Population of 41 and 52. Do I have that correct, Commissioner Baldwin?
That's what it says when I'm looking at now, yes.
Yeah, okay. So that would bring District 4 to negative 1.5% and District 5 to negative 0.8%.
So that's a slight improvement then too.
Mm-hmm.
And it should similarly decrease the number of people that are changing districts by 93. Yeah,
that's correct, because it moves less people from District 4.
I was wondering if it would help for us to see the neighborhoods in the background instead of the current council districts. Would that be at all informative?
It wouldn't hurt, but that's basically, there's a little bit of Central Park. It's just dividing Central Park and that small neighborhood above Central Park. That's what changes. Yeah, it looks like there's no real change then.
Here's the new boundary that follows the creek.
Yeah, it continues on from the north.
So,
right.
What would happen if we, instead of doing the boundary along the creek, we move it to the original piece 26?
The problem with that is it splits that White Drive and Las Palmas, which are, it was brought up during the 2018 districting that's actually a neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And so unless you can use the border between that neighborhood and Central Park, which I don't think you can from previous discussions or exchanges of emails, but you don't want to split White Drive because that's a small, non-divided residential neighborhood. It's a community. It's a local neighborhood.
Okay. Got it. Yeah, I think it looks great. Do you have any comments from other commissioners?
Yeah, that's the neighborhood where Kaiser used to be that they knocked down and is now the new apartments.
No, it's across Kylie Boulevard on the other side.
The other side, okay.
That Woodboro area, I think, is where or homes at Central Park. I think that one might be the old Kaiser.
Robin, you could put the satellite imagery that might help.
Yeah, you can.
And then keep zooming in.
Here's the creek where the new boundary follows.
Oh, okay.
Looks good. Any questions or concerns?
It was just I get why I mean I get why you're doing this mathematically. There's part of me that thinks about that Central Park area as a cohesive neighborhood in some ways. I don't know, I'm struggling with it a little bit because I get why you're suggesting it mathematically. Just think like the residents around there likely have common interests around like the library and the park and the other assets there. I'm not opposed to it. I'm just thinking hard about it.
Yeah, I think we can take a few minutes to look at the plan and think about it and raise any questions or concerns.
Can you zoom in more, Robin? Does it allow you to do that?
In this area here?
Yeah, and maybe extend the map all the way up.
Yeah, that.
I was just gonna try and change the boundary color to hopefully you could see it a little better. There we go.
Can you scroll the map down a little? I think the people that are being impacted are probably towards the side which is scrolled out, because otherwise you have the Central Park.
You want to see the more northern part of Central
Correct,
Park?
yes, a little more, yes. So the people I think who are probably moving because of this are the people who live in kind of probably the northern part of it.
Yeah.
Right, keep going up.
Rest of it is just the Central Park. So there's nobody living in the park area itself. So it's just at the top. Yeah, those are the people who are moving or something. So I think the concern is, yeah, so are they in this district or are they better off in the previous district? So to me, it does not look as if you're splitting any community of interest or as a neighborhood. But there's the people towards the north part of the park, right, who are moving the district or because of the new design, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And probably actually they will be closer to the people who are on the north of Benton. So in some sense, kind of they come closer to the people where they live close by to when we move this line. So it probably helps.
Benton.
Do you want another angle to look at Vice Chair Agarwal, or are you satisfied with this change?
Yeah, to me, at this change, I think, look, yeah, brings those people towards a Benton kind of site closer in, or in the same district.
Okay, sounds good. Any questions or concerns from commissioners or member of the public? Okay, I see. Commissioner Morris?
I'm just wondering whether both sides of the creek, I mean, is this a common park or is this, you
So
see?
it is. If I could chime in, this is Rena. Sorry.
Yeah, yes.
So Central Park is a city park. It's not just a neighborhood park. So it is, I think, the biggest park right now that Santa Clara has. So it does draw people from, you know, and it has different facilities that people outside of the neighborhood are going to use. If you think of the purpose of redistricting, right, it is to have council members represent an area. If you're going to split the park, that means 2 council members will represent the area that, you know, it's a city park, but maybe the issues surrounding the park. If you have one, if it encompasses the entire area, then you have 1 council member who is fully representing those topics in that park. So I just wanted to bring it back to like the purpose of redistricting and how it would interface with the park.
Yeah, so back to the question is, if this is going to split the park, is it better off with one district, or is it going to be a problem if it's going to be in 2 districts?
Well, if there is going to be budgeting for the park, then having 2 councilmen loving the park would be a good thing.
I don't know
I
the
can
word.
be so crude.
I don't know the word love will be there, but let's see.
Representing the park, so then, yeah, so it would be a good thing for the park and the city, since I use the park and love it. Having 2 counselors representing it and making sure that it's in good condition is a benefit to the park and the city.
Yeah. Thank you for that comment. Yeah, I agree with what Commissioner Morris is saying. I just want to ask city staff if they see any potential problems with 2 different councilmen governing the same park. I don't see any problems as of now, no major drawbacks. Clerk Hosam, do you want to?
No, I don't think there's.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, of course, you guys are all weighing. You're all asking the right questions. I don't think there's anything legally or procedurally here that this would any complications from a procedural standpoint that this would introduce strictly because of splitting the park down the creek. But you're all asking the right questions and considering the right things. I do have something. It's kind of a little bit of a nit. If you don't mind, Robin, scrolling down, panning the panning the map down. And I actually saw this in the renders. What is that sliver of red? Yeah, what's up with that? It's not related to the park discussion, but I saw that in some of these maps.
That's an unincorporated area in the middle of the city.
Oh,
so does it not belong to any district?
Rena probably knows more of the history than I do, but there's some landowner, I think, that didn't want to be incorporated or something historically.
I think we would need to look into that. I think that unincorporated pockets of the city are very few and far between. And in fact, this is a bit surprising to me. So I just want to make sure that the data that you have is correct. I didn't actually think we had unincorporated pockets left of the city.
Well, that was there in when the current boundaries were drawn, and people could explain it then in terms of it being unincorporated for some historical reason.
Okay, maybe it's something the staff can look at offline. It's not a glitch in the tools, what you're telling me.
No.
Okay, so I guess maybe staff will look at that.
Yeah, it's intentional. So if you find out that it's actually incorporated, then we'll adjust. There's not enough population to skew anything.
And it's not part of a district, right? It's excluded is what you're saying.
Right, it's excluded.
Got it.
Not in the city.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Morris, did the discussion about the park clarify your concerns?
Yeah, I mean, it breaks my heart to split the park, but you know, I don't know. It feels a bit odd. I mean, I just feel it's a bit odd. But you know, if there are, I mean, if the others say that it is fine, especially from the city, then I think it's fine.
Okay, okay. Thank you for your thoughts. Liz?
Yeah, I just had a quick comment, and I wanted just to check with the demographer since this is a recent change, and I wasn't sure if, you know, if they've been able to have time just to analyze based on what the mapping that you're doing right now, you know, that this is going to be an okay move. I mean, it still looks compact and it looks like it's compliant, but I just want to get that comfortability from the demographers.
I think what we need to do is look at the data table that's hidden right now.
Yeah, I'll bring that map down so we can see
So
it.
I don't think this will
it's-
matter much at all since so few people are involved.
Yeah, the planned deviation is well within
Yeah.
the requirements.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Jensen?
I'm still thinking about this. This is a challenging one for me. I also find it a little weird to split the park, just for a you know, a math rationale. On the same reason for, you know, wanting two advocates for the park, I feel like you could also run into like, not my problem, it's yours. I don't know. I find it weird to split it. And I know that that doesn't get us closer to consensus.
I suppose so. I saw from at least the city staff. Do you know any park budget or anything where council directly has an impact or effect on, or it is managed at a different level? So city department manages it separately and council typically, just do you have any visibility on that?
The council does adopt the city's budget, and, you know, resources to the park would be adopted by the council. So it's very much whoever's
Phrase
on
it.
council will make those decisions.
Yeah, let me phrase it differently. No council member owns anything in their district, right? Like it's not, they are not a mini mayor of their district, right? All council decisions are made by the entire council with a majority of the council. I would be hard pressed to believe that council members would not particularly care about a resource in the city just because it wasn't in their district, right? They're all elected to serve the entire city as a whole. So now, having said that, the points that were brought up are valid, right? In some regards, folks may believe that, as Commissioner Jensen said, it may be less of a priority for a council member knowing that another council member shares the concerns. But again, the entire council should be concerned with everything in the city. And as others brought up, there may be a scenario in which having more than one person call out the issues, right? If there is something wrong in the park or some infrastructure decay, now you have two council members that you might want to reach out to. But nobody's going to look at a map and say, well, it's on this side of the creek, so I'm going to go to that council member, or it's on that side of the creek, so I'm going to go to that council member. They just look and they may even just go to any council member that's willing to listen, right? Because the council as a whole is responsible for everything in the city, or represent residents for everything that happens in the city. I think some of the other points that were brought up earlier are some things that, you know, again, you guys are all asking the right questions and considering the pros and cons. The collection of homes that are on the north side of that strip, I think it was 41. Are they more cohesive with the homes north of Benton, or are they more cohesive to the homes east of the park? And so, like, those are some important questions. You're all asking the right questions, and like I think it was mentioned many times, there's no right or wrong answer. There are just, you know, opinions. So you all have to decide based on kind of all the inputs that you're getting on this.
Thank you for that comment. Okay, any other questions or concerns? Okay, one, as we were discussing budget and everything, one thought that came into my mind, for example, if certain company, landscaping company is given the contract to take care of this one park and they are paid X amount, is that budget split between two different districts?
No, it's just for the city as a whole.
Okay, okay. So we won't have major problems. That is what I think. But feel free to comment on whether you think the neighborhood on the north side are more cohesive with which section of the district. And if we don't have any, I see Commissioner Morris's hand raised. Commissioner Morris, do you have any comment?
No, it's
Okay, Commissioner Jensen.
Sorry for taking up so much space. My preference would be to keep it in the original district, just because I feel like your neighborhood cohesiveness tends to cross the smallest street, if that makes sense, or at least in my mind. So the bigger the street, the harder it is to cross. I think Jane Jacobs talks a lot about that. My preference would be to keep it in the original maps.
Okay, let's take a verbal poll and ask everyone what they feel like. So we know what Commissioner Jensen feels.
Chair Marashi, I just want to, there's been a lot of dialogue on this option. You might want to call out to see if anyone in the public has comments on this option.
Yeah, any comments from public? I believe I asked once and I think we have. Diane?
We do. We just have a hand just raised. Diane Harrison.
Yeah, I have been listening, and I like the splitting it along the creek. So I'm just saying that I think that's a good idea. That's all.
Okay, thank you so much, Diane. Any more comments? Do we have any comments via email or anything, city staff? If not, we can just take a verbal poll. Well, Commissioner Aker?
Leave the original.
Okay. City staff, can you make sure you're seeing the votes? So that, yeah, okay, thank you. Commissioner Aker wants to keep it original. Commissioner Morris?
I'll accept the change.
You would like it to change?
Yes.
Okay.
Why don't we just do it so the vote is yes if you want the change and no if not?
Okay. Commissioner.
So sorry, if that's how the discussion is being framed, then I think Commissioner Aker was. No, he doesn't want the change. Correct.
Correct.
Okay, yes. Got it.
Commissioner Morris was yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Commissioner Jensen.
No.
Vice Chair Agarwal.
Yes, I want change.
Commissioner Baldwin.
I'd like to change.
Remains me. I would like the change too. I'm not missing anyone, right? Okay.
Okay. In that case, I'd like to make a motion that we reconsider the previous motion and nullify it.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Did I say that correctly?
Yeah, that's pretty. That works.
Okay.
I second it. I second the motion.
Okay.
Morris, Commissioner Morris. Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Morris and Commissioner Aker. Well, now that we are reconsidering, now do we have to again pass the motion? We don't need.
You should take a roll call vote. Yes.
Chair Marashi, can I help you out? Can I just call the names?
Okay, thank you.
So the motion is to reconsider the previous motion
and nullify it.
Chair Marashi?
Aye.
Commissioner Aker?
Aye.
Commissioner Morris?
Yes.
Commissioner Jensen?
Yes.
Vice Chair Agarwal,
Yes.
Commissioner Baldwin.
Yes.
Thank you. So the motion passes unanimously.
And then now somebody would need to make a motion on the new proposal.
We'll give that honor to Commissioner Baldwin.
I propose that we adopt the change as discussed.
And to bring this map for adoption at the February 28th meeting.
Commissioner Baldwin, you will also have to mention that we are going to adopt this change and in the map plan 4 in the next meeting.
Yes, we'll adopt the map plan change for the next meeting. Is that correct?
Yeah. Is that right, city staff? Will he have to reframe the sentence?
Well,
Could I make a suggestion
Uh-huh.
that we call this Plan 4A?
Okay. Fantastic. Okay. Now we can pass a motion to adopt Plan 4A in the next. Yeah, well, Commissioner Baldwin, go ahead. You can pass that.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we adopt Plan 4A.
And bring it forward at the next meeting.
Bring it forward at the next meeting.
Yeah.
I second.
Thank you, Commissioner Baldwin and Commissioner Aker. Now let's take a vote. Commissioner Aker,
Aye.
Commissioner Morris,
Yes.
Commissioner Jensen,
Yes.
Vice Chair Agarwal,
Yes.
Commissioner Baldwin,
Yes.
and yes from me too. So fantastic. Now I believe we have passed the motion, right? I'm still getting hang of this motion passing.
And the motion passes. Is that what you asked, Chair?
Yes.
You had 6 yes votes.
Okay, fantastic. And the motion passes. Well, is that it, city staff? I just want to make sure we have covered everything that was needed before we end the meeting.
I do believe I'm gonna share a schedule real quick
Okay.
and confirm our meeting logistics again.
Yeah,
So,
right. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, let me just put this up and you'll bear with me. I drafted it and I might need to modify it on the fly here because you did actually, oh, it's a little unfortunate. We're not showing my screen the way I want. Hold on, I apologize. Let's do this here. Okay. All right. This may not cooperate with me for some reason. I don't know why. So the main thing is that at our next meeting, so between now and our next meeting, we are going to follow the protocol to appropriately notice this map for intended adoption at the February 28th meeting. And we will hold the hearing and hear any comments from the public, any information from the public, and then the commission can take, if they feel it appropriate, they can adopt the final map at the February 28th meeting. Should that not occur at the February 28th meeting, for instance, if you feel you hear information that you are unable to bring the map forward that was noticed to the public and we want to notice another map, then we are going to have to check schedules to find another meeting date to then bring a recommended map forward for adoption at that meeting. After the commission adopts a final map, the Independent Redistricting Commission will present to the City Council the adopted council map, and the council will take a procedural action to adopt an ordinance amending the current district map with the newly adopted map.
Sorry, Irina,
yes.
are you sharing something? Because we don't see anything.
I thought I was. Maybe I apologize if you are not seeing my screen. Hold on one second.
You're doing a good job explaining it, but I'm visual, so.
Yeah, let me share it with you. Hold on. I thought I was. Okay. This is not. Oh, here we go. Can you all see this?
Yes.
Okay. So yes, so in March, specifically March 22nd, seems like the most reasonable city council meeting in which we would be, as in the Independent Redistricting Commission, would be presenting to the city council the adopted council map, and the council would be adopting an ordinance amending the current district map with the newly adopted map. So that's a date that I will ask Elizabeth to put on your calendars for that particular council meeting, just because I know we're on a tight timeline. And once again, we do need to conclude this process by April 17th. So really that March council meeting is our critical meeting to have the council take that action, which should just be procedural to commemorate the adoption that the commission has taken.
What are the mechanics of that? Does somebody have to come up and present it, or is that something we just send to them and it comes up and they vote?
Yeah,
I would suggest that at least the chair present it, and certainly all of you all as commissioners. I would encourage you, but you're not required to join. But I would encourage you to join. I think we definitely want to celebrate all the hard work that you all did and appreciate it. So certainly, like if the chair would like to present it, it can be as simple or as elaborate a presentation as you would like. If you want to go into the details as to the justifications behind the changes or not, and just present it. At the end of the day, this is kind of your presentation, not just to the council, but also to the public. Like there's a ton of people that watch the council meetings, and so we know, we've had some engagement from the public in all of these public hearings and from the emails and comments that we've been getting, but you'll get a lot more exposure and educate even just the general public as to what changes you all made at the council meeting. So there is value in presenting you don't have to go and present all 10 plans, just present the one that you all decided on, and share it so that everybody can see what changes are coming in. And then if for some reason you all are just absolutely hate public presenting, then staff is happy to help you. Staff is happy to help present it, but quite frankly, I would feel much more comfortable if the chair or one of you presented, because this is a celebration of your work and efforts too. So.
Okay, and that says they do that by Zoom also, or do we?
As of now, everything is still Zoom, yes.
Okay, good, thank you.
Does anyone else have questions on this?
What date is this going to be? Approximately what date?
The council meeting that is at the end of March is March 22nd, and that would allow for a sufficient spread between February 28th and March 22nd to get on the council agenda, and some of the internal mechanics of making sure that the item is noticed as well and reviewed appropriately.
Right, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Reena. If we don't have more questions, we can move on to our last item on our agenda, which is the discussion on next meeting format, whether it should be virtual or hybrid on Monday, February 20th, 2022. Reena, would you like to provide information on this?
Yeah, it's February 28th is just a couple weeks away. As of today, our situation with the county, case rates are dropping. We don't have any concrete feeling though about what that'll be on the 28th. So it's really up to the commission right now. We will be resuming City Hall activity next week, where staff will be coming in, providing some services in person to members of the public. That begins next week. So I just wanted to in the past, we've said City Hall's been closed. So next week we are opening that. So it's really a matter of the commission's preference. Meeting in person, there are definitely logistics we need to find the right place and I'm pretty confident we will. I just don't have all the information available at this time, as in, which library it would be, for instance. We would have to go through that. And I do want to remind everyone that even if, you're seeing me wear a mask, right? So we are most likely still going to be wearing masks, and it has added another layer of complexity when we have the number of people that we're going to have communicate with each other with masks and a camera. It's just another variable I thought you should be aware of, that you won't be sitting looking at a camera with faces showing. You'll be similar to me. So I just wanted you to have a visual on what that experience would be like.
Okay, thank you so much, Reena. I think to make it quick, with the show of hands, is there anyone who would prefer hybrid over virtual meeting format?
I suppose one option is just in person, right? Rather than hybrid. One is virtual, one is hybrid, one is in person. So if from what I hear is, so we could probably have just in-person meeting only, where if the mask mandate is still on, then we wear masks, or otherwise, if that will be based on what the current standards are in place. But that's another option to come. Is that on the table or no? Just only in person.
Reena?
I would say that is on the table. I would say there's probably a community expectation now that we have meetings virtually. So it's more a matter of, does the commission want to be in person, and that we would Zoom it, we would broadcast it, right? But it would be the commissioners being in person, and we may make it also available to the public. If the public is wanting to attend, they could attend in person. But I think in person without Zoom, I think there is certainly a community expectation now, and I would hate to disrupt our process to not provide all the virtual services.
Yeah, I think it's too complex to do that and too early. So I'd like to make a motion that the next meeting be done by Zoom.
Yeah, virtually. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion. This is David.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Commissioner Ekar and Commissioner Baldwin. Now staff will call the names. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the last meeting, right? If we adopt the plan at that point, correct?
Most likely.
Yeah. So
except for the council meeting, but the last commission meeting. Yes.
That's us. Yes. Yeah. But this will be the only last meeting where we'll probably be discussing things, and
unless the maps change. So most likely, yes.
Yeah. And if the maps do not change, then there probably will not a lot of discussion that may need to be done. Maybe just a few formalities, correct? So in that, so probably just at least when this may be an opportunity to probably see each other, and probably because we are not going to have a lot of discussion, we probably will not have the mask causing some significant amount of discomfort. So I'm just giving another perspective. But yes.
Yeah, thank you for bringing up great points. But that the next meeting is probably one chance where we can all meet and not really spend too much time. So COVID concerns are less. So yeah, that's a good point. So any thoughts? I mean,
I do want to say that we are happy to celebrate you all when the rates are down. I mean, if it's really about like, and I can appreciate this, you've all put in so much time, and I feel so sorry that this situation has occurred with this global pandemic, but we can certainly celebrate, have a party, if you will, with little snacks or whatever. I just want people to not feel this like there's no no celebration at the end of this whole process. So when rates are down, if that's like what's weighing on your mind, like, oh, I want some camaraderie with this experience, I just want you to know we are happy to organize an opportunity to get together and to celebrate. I just wanted to throw that out.
No, I'm going to drink champagne here. So I'm going to have my glass of champagne. And this is probably wouldn't like me. Can I drink champagne in City Hall?
Yeah, but I definitely like that offer, Reena, because at least once in life, I would like to meet you all. Now that we have decided our city map together. So I would take on that offer, Reena. Well, get the sentiment, we just passed the motion to continue having this next meeting.
I don't think a roll call was taken though.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. I'm about to take that roll call. Staff, will you call the names so that commissioners can respond? Yes. or no?
Sure. Chair
you.
Marashi,
Aye.
Commissioner Aker,
Aye.
Commissioner Morris,
Yes.
Commissioner Jensen,
Yes.
Vice Chair Agarwal,
On record, no.
and Commissioner Baldwin.
Dropped off.
I just don't think, there he is.
Sorry, I said yes.
Thank you. The motion passes. Is that 5 yes and 1 no?
Okay. Yeah, and just to clarify, my yes was contingent to Rina's offer.
That was not in the motion. Okay, so
Yeah. Our meeting is now coming to end, and as a reminder, public outreach regarding redistricting and this commission, as well as information on all IRC meetings has been noticed to the public in many venues, and community engagement on this topic is welcomed and encouraged. Meeting information will continue to be sent during this process via social media, Facebook, Twitter, Nextdoor, and Instagram. Meeting agendas are posted to city's meeting page in advance of the meeting, as well as previous IRC meetings and presentations are available on city's meeting page, www.santaclara.legistra.com. And before we move on to adjourn the meeting, I really want to thank all the commissioners for all their inputs, involvement, and all the great suggestions. I'd like to thank Commissioner Baldwin today because of the new change that you suggested. We could do the live mapping, which was almost scrapped. So that was fun. Thank you for that. And I would like to thank demographers, Dr. Gobole, Dr. Lapkov, Robin, for analyzing everything and putting all the data together for us to analyze and take decisions on, and handling and tackling our last minute suggestions and changes. I really thank you for that. And I thank the city staff. You all were wonderful, patient with all of us, explaining things again and again, providing great support. So thank you for that. So yeah, thank you everyone. This was fun. I hope we adopt the map and there are no major big changes, but thank you everyone. And with
and thank you, Chair Marashi, for chairing. This is your first time chairing any public meeting series, and you've honestly done a phenomenal job. It's like you've been doing this for years. So
yeah,
thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it is because the people who made me comfortable. Thank you. With that, we move towards meeting adjournment.
Okay.
First, do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting to the next meeting of Monday, Feb 28, 2022 at 6 p.m.
So moved.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Aker. Thank you for the motion. Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Morris. If you have no objections to this motion, I will now adjourn this meeting at 8:10 p.m. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thanks, everybody. Great job.
Thank you. Good night.